Recording. Hello everyone. Hello to everyone who's joining in. Good evening, good morning to all of you who've joined. I am also going to go live on LinkedIn and YouTube. So while I set that up, let me know in the chat. Quickly introduce yourself. Let me know your name, where you're from. My name is Aparna, and I'm going to be your host for today. I'm streaming from Bangalore. What about you guys? Let me know in the chat. Yeah, there's still people joining in. Great to have you, Arun, Jennifer. It'd be great if you can also put in your names because it's hard to make that out from your email IDs. Yeah, Swapna, hi. Singh, hi. Okay. Faizan, great to have all of you. Christopher, okay. A lot of you joining in from Canada as well. It's nice to have you guys. Let me see. Abhishek, hi. Someone from Qatar. Good evening to you. Okay, Rajat. Good evening. Yeah, people on YouTube and also on LinkedIn. Let us know your quick introductions. Yeah. Yes, keep those introductions coming. We've just got Bryan who's joined in as well. We'll quickly get started with the session, but I'm just waiting for people on YouTube to confirm. Hi, Bryan. Good morning to you.
Hello.
Yes. So we're just about to get started, Bryan. I was looking at introductions. We've got people across the world as usual. Some people from US, Canada, a lot of them from India as well. Yeah. Yes. I'm just waiting for the live stream to start. Okay, maybe before that, let me just quickly set the ground rules. Today's agenda is, of course, to help you understand, why Scrum Masters are really important. Why do organizations need them, right? So you may have a lot of questions about how you can become one. So make sure you put those questions in the Q&A box. Keep the discussions relevant to what's being discussed. We may not be able to take every question individually, so we'll try and answer all of the questions that you have, but we'll make sure overall it's addressed, but please make sure it's put on the Q&A box exclusively. And towards the end of the session, we'll also hand over the recording to you and also collect your name for giving you the webinar certificate. So make sure you stay till the end to give in your names. And a couple of more giveaways along with your certificate lined up as well. So we'll kind of reveal that as we progress in the session. So let me just set the agenda for today. Like I said, we're going to help you understand why becoming a Scrum Master is important, how they're critical, what makes a great Scrum Master, how you can become one, what kind of skills you need to gain, and how our CSM certification training is going to help. We'll also take you through the enrollment steps. And like I said, we'll do the Q&A towards the end, right? So that's just a little bit about the session. Now, before we start, maybe you guys can, give in your introductions through this poll. So we'd like to understand what your professional background is. Bryan, I've just launched a poll, so you should be able to see the results in a minute or so. You guys can let me know your responses on the poll here. And let me quickly see if we're live on LinkedIn and YouTube. So I just have to stop my screen share.
Okay,
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
And maybe as you're doing that, are you getting an echo?
No, I'm not getting an echo. Are you getting an echo, Bryan?
I'm definitely getting a little bit of echo.
Okay, it's that issue with my mic again, and sadly I don't have my. Yeah, someone else also saying there's an echo. Okay,
And yeah, I guess others are getting the echoing as well.
right.
I guess you just get twice as much information.
Let's see. Let's hope. Lots of echo when Bryan speaks. Okay, maybe I'll mute myself, Bryan, when you're speaking. Let's try that.
Okay, I'm speaking now, and I'm not hearing any echo, so you'll just have to time when you take yourself off mute.
Yeah, it's fine now. So. Okay, so we'll have to time our speech really well. I don't know why the echo is happening though. Anyway, we have the poll results here. Just going to share my results with you, Bryan. A lot of them from tech, data background. A lot of them have more than 10 years of experience. Yeah, so people do know what a Scrum Master does. Maybe just need to give them some direction on how they can become one. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I know you'll have to be on mute, but let me just quickly introduce. Yes, so we'll kind of have to figure this out the next time. Sure. Okay, great. Let me just quickly introduce Simplilearn, and I'll hand it to Bryan after that. So what we do is we offer skills, courses, certifications in various domains, AI, machine learning being one of them. We've also got courses on Agile, Scrum, Project Management, cybersecurity, and all of these courses have Gen AI components included, right? So over the span of last 16, 17 years, we've touched more than 8 million learners worldwide across more than 150 countries. We've got 1,000+ amazing trainers who help you upskill and help you gain these skills. And we've also got a lot of global accreditations, right? Along with this, we've also partnered with some leading organizations, universities across the world. So we've got partnerships with Purdue, Virginia Tech, UCSD. We've also partnered with PMI, Scrum Alliance for these certifications that you're seeing. And what we're really proud of is that a lot of our learners have reported more than, a lot of them have reported 50% plus career hike. A lot of them have also graduated our courses and rated us a 4.8 on 5, right? So that's just a little bit about us. I'll probably hand it over to Bryan here. Bryan, I'll let you introduce yourself and then we'll jump right in.
Okay, great. Yes, thanks so much, Aparna, and it's great to be part of today's session. So a little bit about me. I am an Agile program and project manager. So this basically means I actually work for a lot of companies, helping them with their project program management. So applying some of the techniques we'll be talking a bit about today. I am a certified PMI trainer, as well as in the Scaled Agile framework, and I have a lot of different certifications myself, so I'm pretty familiar with what it looks like and feels like to go through the life cycle of studying and taking an exam and getting your certification. Lots of work in more traditional project management environments. A lot of times, great big companies tend to have big project management offices, but increasingly many companies are also embracing agile practices. So I spend a lot of time working with them on adopting agile techniques and then blending them together with more conventional project management practices. So that's a little bit about me. I am based in Houston, Texas, although right now, because Houston, Texas gets very hot and there's lots of hurricanes that come through, I moved to Colorado. So now I'm safe in the mountains up in Colorado on a beautiful sunny morning up here. All right, over back to you, Aparna.
Yeah, nice. Thanks, Bryan, for that introduction. Yes, so Bryan has a lot of experience in Agile project and program management, so he definitely understands and probably has also, a team of Scrum Masters as well. So he's your go-to person for today. So we'll jump right in, Bryan, and understand why Scrum Masters are really critical. And, you could explain how this transition from project to product is happening.
Yeah, that's a great question. So, I think this session is very topical for a couple reasons. One is organizations in general, across industries and across geographies, are beginning to recognize that focusing on products is actually a really critical differentiator, because products are the things that your customers buy. These are the things that provide value to your customers. So making sure you're giving those the priority that they need to have so you can satisfy those customer needs becomes really important. And projects are part of that, but increasingly it's all centered around the product. So we're beginning to see a big shift in the way organizations are organizing themselves and the focus they're providing to this idea of products. And there's lots of different processes and frameworks you can use. Scrum is probably the leading one of the group. Scrum has been built intentionally from the ground up by its authors, Jeff Sutherland and Ken Schwaber, to focus on product. It is a product delivery process. And then there's other complementary ones: lean portfolio management, the scaled agile framework, Kanban, all fit into that space. But if you want to be effective, successful in a highly dynamic and changing market environment, you're probably increasingly going to recognize that product-centric development is the way to go. But this introduces some challenges, because many organizations have been spending decades kind of organized around projects and focus on functional spots within the organization. So you might have an operations group, a marketing group, an accounting group, a sales group, et cetera, and they're kind of all centered with those expertise within those areas. Products mean you're going to have to rethink that and make some adjustments to your organization and sort of blend these skills together and center them around products. There's some mindset changes that occur, and that is often a really difficult thing for both organizations and people to kind of get comfortable with, sort of looking at problems through a different lens. So all of these are big challenges that organizations are focusing on right now.
Right. So, which is why, Agile framework is becoming all the more popular. Like you said, this webinar is definitely topical. So, maybe you could also give learners a brief overview of what the Agile methodology is all about as well.
Absolutely. So this is an important part of that mindset change as we start making that shift from projects to products. Agile is a really effective set of both principles, so sort of values that we want to align ourselves around, and practices, ways in which we do work, all focused on improving our product development. And how do we do that? Well, we want to emphasize things like flexibility. Okay, we want to be adaptive. Why? Because the world's changing all the time. So we want to have to be, find ways in which we can be responsive to those changes. We want to emphasize collaboration. Again, why? Well, because at the end of the day, it's about people doing things that deliver value. We want to find ways in which they can collaborate and interact effectively. And then, of course, a continuous improvement. We want to continually be asking questions on how can we be better. And Agile is sort of a whole set of techniques and mechanisms to emphasize this. Now, originally, it was built in the software development domain. So oftentimes people do have a tendency to kind of associate Agile with software development, but increasingly people are recognizing, hey, these are just good practices that we can apply anywhere. It doesn't matter if you're building software. You could be marketing something out to your customer base. You could be working with human resources or operations. All these functions still need to be responsive and find ways to improve the productivity. So Agile is a really good answer to solving those kind of problems.
Yeah. Bryan, you don't have to mute yourself. I think it's only the other way around. But anyway, yeah, thanks for highlighting, what Agile really is. So if you can also highlight maybe three important Scrum roles, and what they mean in a real life situation.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the reasons Agile and Scrum in particular are very appealing to organizations is because they tend to kind of just focus on really core attributes and not overwhelm the organization and its It's people with lots and lots of, detail. And just to put this a little bit in perspective, so I think our last session we did last month was on the Project Management Professional Certification. And that is a very comprehensive certification. It's been around for a long time. It's globally recognized, but it's got a very interesting difference from Agile. So the PMBOK, the kind of the guide you're going to use, the project management body of knowledge to pass that certification to become a full-fledged certified project manager, is about 1,000 pages long. It's like a phone book. It's really, really detailed. Whereas in Agile, Scrum in particular, the Scrum guide is 14 pages long, much more accessible. And a big part of that is because it tends to kind of simplify things, just focus on what's important. One of the areas it focuses on is that you really only need 3 roles to deliver value to customers. You need a product owner. This is the person that is going to really understand what is the product that our customers want to buy, why do they want to buy it. Let's make sure that what we are building and supporting in that product are the things that our customers want the most. And they're going to take that information, put it into what's called a backlog, a product backlog. They're going to prioritize it with the most important thing at the top. And that is the focus of the product development team. So on the right-hand side, we have the team. So we don't see, quality assurance and developers and testers and business analysts. It's just a team. It's a team of people with the right mix of roles and skills so we can deliver what that product owner has identified our customers need. And in between is our Scrum Master. And what becomes really important in the role of the Scrum Master, which brings us here today, is the Scrum Master is sort of the glue that holds all of this together. They help the team be as effective and impactful as possible, help the team remove impediments, help the team understand what goals are they trying to achieve, and they're identified by the product owner. So the Scrum Master becomes really instrumental in this. So those are the 3 roles here that we have for Scrum, and we're going to see why the Scrum Master is so important in this.
Bryan, just one question that I had, probably the learners might also have the same question. So you mentioned here that each Scrum team comprises of 3 to 9 members. So so how's the split between the thing that you said, 6 plus or minus 3? How does that split work?
Yeah, so the simple way to think about this is imagine for a moment you're part of an agile development team. So you are one of that anywhere from 3 to 9 people, that 6 plus or minus 3 number, and you're going to come together and you're just going to ask, okay, what do we need to do today to get this work completed? And I might say to you, actually, I can help gather some of the requirements. I'm going to talk to the customer, write them down for you. Or you might say, actually, you know what, Bryan, why don't you focus instead on, testing that last piece of functionality we just finished? I'll go do that because I've got the skills. So as a team, we just talked through what's the best way we can use our skills to deliver value to our customers. And a couple of things you might be picking up out of that is that it's highly collaborative, right? The whole team comes together. We have a conversation. The product owner's there. The product owner says, hey, customers really want this new feature. We got to, change the font on our page here. It's, they want to Times Roman, not Arial. Okay, great. We're on it. Let's start building that functionality. So it's lots of conversations, lots of discussions. And that's how the development team kind of organizes itself. And notice it's got the term self-organized. So it's not someone telling you, you need to do this by this date in this form. It's a question. What do you need to do so we can satisfy this outcome? So a lot of emphasis on conversations, discussions, and the person that facilitates all that is a Scrum Master. Brings the people together, helps ensure good communications occurring, identifies, what are the priorities, what are the goals we're trying to achieve, what does success look like, and help the team really center on that.
Yeah, so you can also maybe explain what does Scrum Master do on a day-to-day basis. So if someone becomes a Scrum Master, what will they essentially be doing?
Right. Yeah, that's a great question. What does a day in the life look like for a Scrum Master? Well, a couple things. One is, again, the Scrum Guide takes all the things that people tend to generally do when they're delivering something of value and kind of condense them down into 4 meetings, ceremonies that occur throughout each of these sprints. And all a sprint is, if you're not familiar with the term, is just a time box period in which the team is going to deliver something of value. And a lot of teams tend to center on 2 weeks, but it doesn't have to be 2 weeks. It could be 3 weeks, it could be 4 weeks, whatever makes sense for the team. But the team basically says, okay, this is what the amount of time we need to get something out the door to our customers. And once we kind of agree on that duration, that sprint duration, then we have 4 types of meetings that occur. And the very first one is a planning event, a planning meeting. We're just going to sit down and we're going to say, hey, what are the most important things we want to get done? Let's ask, how can we get these done? And can we get them done in the duration of the sprint? And the Scrum Master would be there to kind of facilitate that and guide the team and ensure that the team isn't over-committing to work within the sprint, because we want to get as much of that work done as we can in the sprint. And how would the Scrum Master do that? Well, they'd be checking in like, how do we do in the previous sprints? And do we have any outstanding work? And do we have the right work identified? And are the right questions being answered from our product owner that the team has? And once the team kind of gets the sprint planning done, then they shift into work mode. So every day they check in for a very short duration, 15-minute session, and just ask, hey, what'd you do yesterday? What are you planning to do today? Do you have any issues? And if there's an issue or something blocking work from being completed, that's when the Scrum Master sort of leaps into action and says, oh no, I've got a team member that can't get their work done. And this is really important work because we just agreed to it. So what can I do to help remove that impediment? And then that goes through the whole duration of the sprint. And at the end of the sprint, we have 2 final ceremonies. The first is the review. So we're going to basically do a show and tell. Here's the work that we finished. Get some feedback from the people that asked for the work and say, hey, is this going to work for you? If it is, great, we'll release it. If not, what changes need to be made? And then once that's finished, the team is then going to reflect on how they can continuously improve. And again, Scrum Master is going to be there front and center, helping the team facilitate that conversation, maybe look at metrics that they have from the past sprints, maybe talk about how people felt during the sprint. So all of those are techniques that the Scrum Master is going to tap into to really help make the team as effective as possible.
Right, got it. So that makes Scrum Masters all the more critical now, right? So if you can maybe summarize why Scrum Masters are really important in today's times, and some questions that came in on the Q&A box were, so if someone is in life sciences or say pharmaceutical industry, in that case, do you think Scrum Masters are relevant there as well? Should someone really consider transitioning to a Scrum Master within their organization?
Yeah, great question. So I have actually done some very interesting and very effective agile projects in the life sciences pharmaceutical domain. So the short answer is yes. And in fact, what became very powerful about these techniques is a lot of times in those domains, there's a lot of research and development, and you're frequently building out maybe new medicines, new medications, etc. And you need to have some way, maybe track them, get results from the use of those medications. There's a lot of oversight that goes on to the industry. So Agile actually becomes a really effective way to kind of rapidly progress creating and building applications that you can test and validate. You can take advantage of some of these new automation tools, particularly around continuous integration and deployment. So you're building a lot of testing into the whole life cycle and you automate it, which if you work in the pharmaceutical industry, that is an area you spend a great deal of time on typically. So finding ways to kind of reduce the amount of administrative overhead on there. So it absolutely fits very well in that domain. I can speak to my own experience there. And then what does a Scrum Master do? Well, a simple way to think of a Scrum Master is they are really responsible for creating high-performing teams. These are the engines that deliver value to customers. So probably the single most important thing every single organization is striving to achieve. They want these high-performing teams sprinkled across their entire enterprise. So what do? They remove roadblocks. Anything that's preventing us from delivering value, our Scrum Masters are focusing on that, finding ways to get those resolved. They make sure teams are aligned within the team, so we understand where our priorities are, and outside of the team, how are we aligning with other teams that we might have work that we need to depend on. And finally, our continuous improvement. What are we finding ways in which we can be better? How can we improve continuously?
Right, got it. So obviously, without a Scrum Master, there's going to be, the first thing is probably lack of having a clear direction, poor communication, obviously, and we're also at the risk of missing deadlines, and eventually, that could increase a lot of conflicts within the team as well, right?
Exactly.
Right. Got it. Got it. All right. So, question for our audience here. You guys can let me know the answer on the chat. I know we've got a couple of more questions on the Q&A box. We'll just address that in a while. But let us know if you face these challenges yourself, not essentially in a Scrum team, but any of the projects that you've managed, you've been a part of. Let us know if you've faced any of these challenges in your job earlier. Just a quick yes or a no on the chat. Let me just open it up so that everyone can see each other's responses. A quick yes or a no, or what challenges you faced maybe. So you do realize now how Scrum Masters really help mitigate these challenges, avoid these risks, right? Yeah. Or if yes, then what kind of challenges have you faced among the four that we've listed? That will also help. Yeah. Okay. Okay. All of them? All right. Okay. Bryan, what is the biggest challenge you faced maybe so far in the last 25, 30 years?
Yeah, no, that fantastic questions. Probably the biggest things I often uncover when working with organizations as they make the shift to Scrum. The very first one is it is remarkably surprising how few team members really understand why they're doing the work they're being asked to do. So that very first point, lack of clear direction, is really helping people understand, like, why is this important? Who is this for? What value is it going to produce? And you can probably imagine a little bit, if you're working in a large enterprise, that can be a little hard to answer at times. Like, yeah, who does use our product? If you're working for an Amazon or a big company like that, or even, a big insurance company, financial services organization, it's not always clear who your customer is. So making sure you've got a good understanding of who your customer is, what it is they need to get, and why it's important. The other part is often the communication among team members. And this has really shifted a lot. It was occurring before the pandemic and I think just accelerated after that. But working remotely, people are often working in very distributed teams. Oftentimes these teams are spread across the world. So finding ways in which you can improve the communication across the team. So the daily stand-ups become really valuable that way, because for many teams, it's often the only chance they get to connect with one another as a team on a daily basis. And it's kind of hard to feel like you're part of a team if you're not communicating with your other team members, right? So these are very classic problems. The other one's missed deadlines, inefficient project execution. I think that's such a good one to highlight there. Many organizations get a little frustrated with their teams because the teams say, hey, I'm going to get something done by this date, and they don't. And that's hard for your senior managers. It's hard for your investors because they need you to kind of hit these deadlines. So Scrum and Agile becomes a really effective way to kind of drive that focus on, hey, we're all about delivering value on a regular, consistent cadence, just like a piston in an engine firing up and down consistently, repeatedly. That's what kind of moves the organization and your value forward.
Got it. Got it. So I think now we've established, I think all of you guys are now clear how critical the role of a Scrum Master is, why organizations really need Scrum Masters today, right? So let's probably now jump into understanding what makes a great Scrum Master. Bryan, I'm sure you've hired a lot of Scrum Masters yourself. You've also seen, a lot of Scrum teams yourself. So what do you think are the qualities that a great Scrum Master should have?
Yeah, fantastic question. And things that you generally look for is someone who's frankly a good communicator, who can kind of communicate the value, the priorities, can work with different people on a team. So generally, Scrum Masters are typically kind of more outgoing, people that have strong communication skills. They're facilitators. We're not always asking the Scrum Master to solve problems, but rather to bring people together to solve their own problems. So we're looking for people that have those skills that are often kind of empathetic. They can kind of see the position other people have. They can kind of meet them where they are. They're essentially a servant leader. So their job is not to tell people what to do or how to do it, but rather to ask them what they need to get their job done, to enable people. So this is a really important part of that role, and the people that we want in that role are the ones that are going to exhibit those behaviors. In addition, good Scrum Masters are often, generally speaking, well organized. These are people that sort of get some comfort out of knowing that, hey, we have a 2-week sprint cycle, and we're going to start with planning, and it's scheduled on this day, and we're going to do a review maybe 2 weeks later on a Friday, showcase this, and kind of get a lot of value from just organizing and structuring, because a lot of the teams, they really need that, and they need someone in that capacity to help facilitate that. So at the end of the day, good Scrum Masters actually have a lot of the characteristics that project managers have, but they're a little bit more oriented around this product view, not around a project view.
Sorry. Yeah. Right. Great. Thanks, Bryan, for answering that. Another question that, a lot of learners might have is, how does getting certified really help? What do you think is the difference between someone who is a certified Scrum Master versus someone, who pursues the role without taking a formal certification?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's actually one I was just having a conversation with an organization on yesterday. This is for project managers, but it applies in the same way to CSMs. Generally speaking, organizations look for these certifications because it gives them confidence that the people that they're bringing in already have the fundamentals, the foundations in place. You are not going to have to invest any time in training people around terms and techniques and practices. So if you are a non-certified Scrum Master, you might be able to point to the fact that you have experience, but you might not have all the awareness, the knowledge that comes into effectively managing Scrum teams and Scrum practices. So as an organization, and just to kind of bring it back to what I said earlier, we just won't accept anyone for these roles unless they have a certification, whether that's, you want to be a project manager in an organization, well, then you have to have a PMP. You want to be a Scrum Master, then you have to have a CSM. There's just no way you're going to get past that initial round without those certifications.
Right, got it. So that's how important certifications are now. So it's not, it does not depend or matter, whether you have experience in handling teams or handling conflicts. You just need to have certification. Right, great, got it.
Right.
So if you can also break down how CSM certification looks like, what does one need to become certified, and maybe then we could proceed about talking about the training that we offer as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So, so the Scrum certification, the CSM, is offered by the Scrum Alliance. It's probably the largest of all the recognized Scrum Master certifications that are available. There are other options that you can pursue, but this was sort of think of this, the granddaddy of all the Scrum Master certifications. So it's the most globally recognized of all these certifications. It's very practical. It's very team-oriented in the sense that it's how do we apply these techniques effectively within Agile Scrum teams. And the best part about this, it is very beginner-friendly. There is no prerequisites required. You don't have to have gone to school for, 4 years and get to shove a degree and spend 36 months applying, these techniques like you would in the PMP. In the Scaled Agile Framework world. This is just, hey, if you're interested in this and you're ready to start learning, you can show up, and in 2 days, you can learn what it takes to be an effective Scrum Master and then take certification. And then that certification lasts for 2 years, and then you go through a renewal process, which is generally pretty lightweight. It's mostly in the form of continuing to improve your awareness, your knowledge of the space through taking seminars like this.
Yeah, I keep forgetting I have to unmute myself to speak. Anyway. Right. Some amazing questions coming in on the chat. I request you all to post it on the Q&A box. We've got close to 100 people, in the session, so it's hard for me to keep track of these questions. Yeah. So be rest assured your questions will be answered. Just make sure you put them on the Q&A box. Just easier to track, right? So let's talk about how you can become, yeah, how becoming a Scrum Master will help you. Firstly, it helps you obviously access a lot more opportunities, gives you access to earn better and, obviously career growth. So Bryan, we also had this question on the chat about career growth path, and we've talked about this, earlier in the session as well. So if you can just highlight how one can transition or grow from being a Scrum Master.
Yeah, great question. So, generally speaking, once you get kind of immersed in Agile Scrum practices as a Scrum Master, the first path that opens up is often as a form of a product owner. So this is the person responsible for product backlog. You'll be working closely with someone in that role. You can kind of learn more about the product, learn more about the ways in which they're kind of prioritizing that backlog and managing that. So for a lot of Scrum Masters, they'll often make that shift into the product domain. And once you're in that product domain, you can become a product owner. You can then become a product manager, managing multiple products, a product director, managing a whole portfolio of products. So there's lots of really strong opportunities if you want to take that direction. Another path forward, if you want to stay closer to the delivery part of your product practices, is as a you'll start as a Scrum Master, and then oftentimes multiple teams will need to kind of come together to deliver something. Then this role of a release train engineer or sort of a Scrum Master of Scrum Masters emerges. So you're kind of managing and navigating across multiple teams. And then ultimately you become a portfolio manager where you've got a collection of products being managed in an entire portfolio within the organization. Or you could even become a coach where you're got so much experience helping teams improve the productivity that you're kind of moving from team to team, working with them, addressing any of the challenges they're facing.
Right. Got it. Got it. Understood. I hope that answers the bonus question. We had that question on the chat some time back. So are there also other certifications, equivalent to CSM? Is PSM also similar to CSM, or SAFe, Certified Scrum Master? Are they all similar in nature? Do they open up to similar opportunities, similar kind of roles?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So first off, yes, there are definitely lots of other certifications that are out there. This is one. This is probably the most recognized, but there are others like the Professional Scrum Master, which is offered through Scrum.org. And frankly, you could probably find lots of the Scaled Agile Framework has a pretty strong Scrum certification as well. And then, in addition, yes, there are lots and lots of other certifications you can get as a product owner, as a release train engineer, as a portfolio or lean portfolio manager. So there's many paths that you can follow if you want to stay in this space around products. Or you might say, hey, a lot of the times you're working in larger organizations, they still have more traditional project management structures. A PMP could be really valuable in that space to kind of complement your Agile background.
Right, got it, understood. So we'll take you through we'll take the learners through what we offer as well in a while. But let's talk about how our CSM certification training really fit and how it helps you in achieving this certification, eventually taking on Scrum Master role. So like Bryan mentioned, becoming CSM certified is fairly simple. The course itself lasts just for a weekend long, and all you need to do is to be really well versed with the Scrum study guide, which I shared some time back on the chat. And maybe share the link once again, but let's talk about how our training helps, right? So what we offer is, of course, the live classes that happen over the weekend. Bryan, maybe you could help the learners understand how each of these modules are built as well.
Yeah, of course. So we're going to start with some of the foundations. So that's the Agile introduction that I kind of spent a very brief amount of time on. We'll go a little deeper into that, but also what's called the Agile Manifesto. So this is sort of the bright shining light on the top of the hill that kind of inspires and guides all Agile practices, whether it's Scrum or XP or Crystal, you name it. There's lots of different practices out there, but they all support the Agile Manifesto, the 4 values and the 12 principles. So you'll spend some time getting, really confident and familiar with those ideas. Then you're going to start digging deeper into Scrum itself. So an overview of what Scrum is, the 3 pillars of Scrum, sort of what is its foundation, what does it emphasize? You'll look at the Scrum values, so what sort of drives Scrum and sort of what's inherent in all the practices that it identifies. Then you'll learn about the Scrum team. That's the product owner, the Scrum Master, and the development team. You'll get introduced to that idea of a product backlog. What does that represent? Then you'll look at the Scrum events. That's the planning, the daily stand-up, the review, the retro, and the Scrum artifacts, which essentially are the product backlog, the sprint or the release backlog, and the sprint backlog. And then, some additional topics that will come up. And oftentimes that's in the form of, well, how do you coordinate across multiple teams? So this idea of maybe a scrum of scrums to kind of keep two teams that are working closely together aligned, things like that.
Understood. Bryan, one more thing that you mentioned about, you mentioned product owner. So is that, obviously that's going to be a separate certification. So CSPO is a separate certification. Is that essentially something that someone has to pursue in a certain order, or is this independent of becoming a CSM? How does that fit in? Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I don't think there's a natural order that you have to follow, but what I can say is I think taking your CSM gives you a really strong foundation that if you do want to pursue more of a product owner space, perhaps you're working in that capacity already to some degree. Getting the CSM is going to give you a good familiarity with Scrum and its practices and sort of why they encourage you to kind of use these practices in a certain way to complement your product owner path. But you don't necessarily have to. If you went and took a good product owner course, you're probably going to cover a lot of the same ideas and concepts, but probably not in the same depth that you would in the CSM. Oh, and you might be
I
muted.
muted myself. Yeah, yes. So what you see here on the slide is average salary range of what a Scrum Master really earns. You can also find these on our course page. So like Bryan mentioned earlier, so you could become product owner after becoming Scrum certified and eventually become an Agile coach. Probably something what Bryan already is doing right now. So that Bryan is probably a living example of what you can do with a CSM, right? There are also other roles that he mentioned some time back, which is the RTE. Eventually, after you pursue the SAFe Scrum Master certification, you could become an RTE or an Agile Project Manager, a QA analyst, or a business agility consultant as well. So these are some roles that you can pick up after being Scrum certified. Yeah, right. So what you get out of this particular course is obviously live classes from certified Scrum trainers. You also get a Scrum Alliance membership for 2 years. That's worth 2 years. And along with that, you also get access to curriculum that is built by Scrum experts like Bryan himself. Just some success stories from our alumni here. You can see Amanda and Anand have kind of pursued the certification training that we offer and eventually have gone on to take on Scrum roles in their career, right? There are more success stories on the course page as well. What I'll do is I'll just share the link to you right away so that you guys can take a look. I'm just going to also talk about the enrollment steps very shortly, make sure still here in the session. Yeah. So that's the link. You can check out, more success stories about the curriculum. Yes, of course, we're also going to talk about when the cohorts are. But before that, let me just highlight how our certificate looks like. So you get the certificate directly from Scrum Alliance. And do remember that all of your classes happen on the Scrum Alliance, environment. So we don't have a separate environment that we offer usually for other courses. So Scrum Alliance, we've partnered with Scrum Alliance to offer this course. You get a digital badge from them, and of course, this earns you the necessary recognition that you need. Yes. So this is just a little bit about the course. Let me just take you through the enrollment steps. It's very simple. I'm just going to launch a quick poll in some time. All you have to do is to click a yes. And when you do that, you can expect a call from a learning advisor very, very soon. And, once you're ready to enroll in the cohort, guide you with the upcoming dates, the timings, when the cohort starts, who your trainers are going to be, what the course offers, and all of the features that I just mentioned. The learning advisor will be able to explain that you as well, and then you are inside the cohort. It's as simple as that. But what we've also done is for learners in US and Canada, we actually have a learning advisor here in the webinar. So I'll just launch a breakout room very quickly after I launch the poll, and then you can talk to the learning advisor right away. But let's say you live anywhere else in the world, whether it's India or anywhere else, you can expect a call from the learning advisor tomorrow because it's also slightly late here, right? So what are your course cohort start dates? The course cohort starts actually this weekend. We also have cohorts happening every weekend, so you can choose anything, any cohort that suits your timing or your work schedule or anything else. And we also have something known as the Flexi Pass enabled. So let's say you do enroll for this cohort on June 21 and you want to reschedule your start date. You can absolutely do that, but you should choose a start date within the next 90 days, right? Thanks so much for joining, Scott, but I'm just going to quickly highlight the course fees as well. So for India learners, it's close to 30,000 rupees. And for US learners, it is close to 549 rupees, right? But what we have is just an additional discount for you guys to just make it a little more affordable for learners. We've got this course at 16,500 rupees. And for the learners in the US, it's just about $300. You can scan the QR codes and enroll right away, or you can use this poll to express your interest, okay? And remember that it's not just this discount that I'm talking about. So if you enroll in the next couple of days, you can also use an extra 5% off. Use the coupon code HAPPY5, and you can do that when you enroll through this webinar, right? So I've launched a very quick poll for UK learners as well. You can click a yes on the poll, but remember, you will receive a call tomorrow. For the learners in US and Canada, what I've done is we have a breakout room that says US Learning Advisor. So I'm just going to open that room now. And Siddhant, who's the learning advisor, he's going to take you through the enrollment steps, help you understand whatever concerns you have, address them, and of course, guide you to the enrollment. So I'm just going to open this room, and you will find Siddhant there. You can kind of get your questions answered, all of that. Yes. So just click on join. I've also broadcasted this message. Yes. So you can click on join and ask your questions to Siddhant. And meanwhile, the other learners in India and the rest of the world, make sure you have selected a yes, and you can expect a call back sometime tomorrow. Okay. Right. So I'm just going to leave the QR code for anyone who is willing to enroll right away and get started literally day after tomorrow. Meanwhile, let's see if we've got questions for Bryan. Or Bryan, are you already taking them?
I've been answering a few, but one that I think would be probably wise to spend just a moment or two on, because it's come up a couple times. This one that I'm spending a lot of time myself thinking about is, what's the role of AI? How is AI going to affect Scrum Masters? So I think there's two answers to that. The first is AI is going to be a really powerful tool to help enable and reduce some of the more manual, more administrative tasks that Scrum Masters and project managers often have to perform. Things like, are we on track with the commitments that we made for a sprint? AI is going to be really valuable to kind of scanning progress in your work management systems and producing analysis and reports on progress. It can also be very helpful to kind of identify if you're overcommitting to work within a sprint by comparing it to past sprints. So I think Scrum Masters are going to get a lot of value from that. However, the thing that I think is really important to take away with here, and I think it's very legitimate if you are asking questions and you feel a little bit anxious about what AI is going to do to your role, to your industry. One thing I know for a fact AI is not going to be able to do is bring people together in a meaningful way that they can focus on what their customers need and how to organize to deliver that value. Because that, at the end of the day, is about humans communicating with humans. And this is really what a Scrum Master does. So I think of all the roles that are going to be AI proof in the future, I really firmly believe that the Scrum Master is probably the most AI resilient role that you're going to find in industry over the next 5 to 10 years. And in fact, increasingly, I think organizations are going to be turning to this kind of role to help engage and enable not just their people, but all this AI technology that supports them.
Got it. All right. Let's see if we've got more questions. By the way, people in the breakout room, Siddhant has got just some issues joining, so he'll probably be there in a couple of minutes. Just wait. We probably address a few more questions that other learners have. Yeah, I think we've addressed skills that are required to becoming a Scrum Master. I think that's already done. Okay, someone has finished their project management certification. How can they gain experience? How can they gain a job without having prior experience, and when jobs actually require them to have prior experience? So how do they solve this chicken and egg problems? Prino has this question. And also I think he asked if there are project management software tools that you recommend him to use.
Right. Yes. So a couple things about that. So you're right. If you you don't have experience, it's going to be hard to showcase that you've got experience. How do you get around that? Well, this is sort of the age-old question. My son's just graduating from university right now, and he's facing the same challenge. Sees lots of great jobs, doesn't have the experience, even though he's got the degree to demonstrate he's got the knowledge. Well, you get yourself in the door, and you find a way to showcase those skills. And then you craft your resume to reflect your experience. So you might not have the job title of a Scrum Master, but you might join an organization and you can say to them, hey, you know what would really help us if we had a planning session that we did every 2 weeks and we use that to figure out what we can commit to in the next 2-week period. Well, guess what? That's what a Scrum Master does. You might not have the title, but you can apply those same techniques and you can build up some experience and you can update your resume to highlight the fact that you created sort of a 2-week delivery cadence. You had planning events. You suggested maybe we have a 15-minute lightweight check-in. Oh, that's called a daily stand-up. Maybe you showcase the completed work at the end of a sprint. Oh, that's a review. Maybe you find some ways to continuously improve. Oh, that's a retrospective. So you're gonna have to put a little skin in the game, a little energy in the game. Now, you might say to me, Bryan, you don't get it. I can't even get a job to do those things. It's just not out there. So my guidance then would be, guess what? Volunteer. There are so many organizations out there you can kind of devote some of your time and energy to that would be really appreciative of that time and energy. And you can bring those techniques in, and then you can use that on your resume and say, hey, I volunteered at this organization, and point to the fact that how you helped them. What did you help them do? Oh, they started to deliver more value more frequently to the people they supported. So you're going to have to challenge yourself, get a little bit creative, but there are paths that kind of get you that experience so you can get into these roles.
I got it. I think that really helped. Probably, if not formal experience, helping out or doing projects within your organization might help as well. What about someone who already has an MBA degree, Bryan? How does it help them? What do you suggest?
Well, I too have an MBA. And yeah, I mean, the MBA is sort of focusing on a different problem set, right? You're really thinking about how do I manage business? I'm an MBA, Master's in Business Administration. So this means you've got a good understanding of things like the whole, product life cycle. How do you want to market products? How do you want to manage, the financials around products and the organizations within those? So Scrum is going to get a little bit more granular. It's going to tell you, hey, this is what you do with a team. You've got this team. How do you get these teams to work in sort of a high performing capacity? So one way to think about it, was it Rudendra that asked the question? Rudendra, yeah, if you've got your MBA, that's probably giving you a very broad brush understanding of how businesses work and effective way for those organizations to work. Now with Scrum, you're going to get the details of things they don't teach you in your MBA on how to create high-performing teams and deliver value.
Right, got it. I think, Rudendra, that would have answered your question. For people asking about learning advisors, okay, so we don't have learning advisors for UK learners specifically, but remember, if you've just selected a yes on the poll, someone will definitely call you tomorrow. But let's say you're ready to start and you do want to ask questions, you can ask Siddhant. You can still join the room, says US Learning Advisors, and get your questions answered and, join the course later. For others asking about the course fee for people in Nigeria and everywhere else, you could scan the QR code. It will direct you to the course page, and that's how you'll be able to, check the course fee as well. Okay, and who else? We've got another question from someone who's anonymous, who says he's a client manager working in BPO. He's working for an outsourced insurance client. So being a service provider, who would be working on behalf of the client with predefined process requirements from the process owners? How does the role of a Scrum Master fit in here?
Right. So so it sounds like they've got some customers, clients, or service provider. So your Scrum Master is really gonna be focusing, here's the team supporting client X. Let's make sure that that team is well formed. We've got the skills necessary to deliver what that customer is expecting, that we have a regular cadence that we've established to deliver value to that customer and say, hey, every 2 weeks, we're going to provide you these features, these enhancements, these configurations, whatever they might be, and that they've established sort of that delivery cadence of planning, daily stand-ups, reviews, retros. So the Scrum Master is sort of operating in that capacity, and you might find the Scrum Master be working closely with the client and supporting your product owner in terms of saying, hey, what are our priorities? What are the things that we need to get done this next upcoming sprint?
Understood. Okay, great. Someone who's anonymous posted that question. Hope that's answered now. Actually, this is a question that I was foreseeing earlier as well. So for someone who is pursuing a PMP or is already a PMP certified project management professional, what do you suggest? Should someone take up and become CSM certified as well?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, the two are a perfect pairing. Think of a hand and a glove. They work very well together. So, continue to your PMP. In fact, Parna, we could share with them that little exam. I could pop it in here. So yeah, take your PMP, get that done, get that out of the way, and then pivot over to the CSM, because you're going to find it's going to provide you a lot of answers. And in fact, as you're taking your PMP, the 3 domain areas that you're focusing on include people, process, business. Well, the people part is all Agile. Agile is all about people. So yeah, really encourage you to kind of pair up with the PMP and the CSM.
Right. Swapna, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to send you the link that Bryan was mentioning. Here you go.
Oh.
So yeah, I'm just going to send it to her. In case you want to practice, and become ready for the PMP, you should definitely consider this test. We had a fun session last week on a live practice in PMP. Yes, so I'm just sending that link over to Swapna as well, in case she wants to take a look. Let's see if we've got more questions. I think, Bryan, we're nearly done with questions.
I think we are. Look at that.
Yeah, we are. So I'm just going to share with learners another amazing thing that I wanted to, I said there are a couple of giveaways along with the certificate, of course. So one is the study guide that you should definitely keep handy. Helps you understand how you can clear your CSM exam. So just head to the link that I'm sharing on the chat. Okay, please make sure you download this study guide, right? Now, another giveaway, which is probably even better than the study guide, is our GPT. So I don't think I've said this in another session, but we've just recently launched the Simply Mentor GPT, which helps learners get answers to any question that they have. So it can be about, okay, where does the CSM certification take me? Or whatever, you see these prompts yourself. But let me just put in a prompt that came in very recently. Okay, let me just put in Swapna's prompt. I'm already pursuing, a PMP certification. Should I take up CSM as well. Okay. Might be some, yeah. I'm just going to put in this question and the GPT does its magic. It'll give you your answer on what you should exactly be doing, right? So you don't have to always wait for Bryan to do a webinar and answer this question. You can actually do it yourself, right? I'm not sure if learners have seen this or explored this earlier, but you should definitely check this out. And, you know, it answers pretty much any question that you have. Give me resources so that I can prepare for the CSM exam. Okay, now the GPT again puts across resources that Simplilearn has from the other sources on the internet as well. Yeah. So all of that I said about the course is already there here. You also have some free courses that Simplilearn Skill Up offers. You know, a 4-week learning plan as well. So it's as detailed as a webinar. So what I'm going to do is share this GPT or share this prompt with you guys that you can also play around and of course get answers, not just for CSM. You know, you could get answers to any career related question. It can be anything that you're doing right now. It can be in data, it can be in cloud computing, cybersecurity, you name it, right? So I'm just sending the prompt as well, and just give a thumbs up. You feel this is amazing, something that you definitely needed. You didn't know you need this, but you needed this, and you know it's finally here, right? Just quick yes on the chat. You feel this is helpful, and yeah, I'm actually also going to put this questions on the Simply Mentors prompt and just see what the answer is going to be. You know, I'm just going to save Bryan's energy here as well. So the question was about, okay, whether someone should choose a PMI ACP over, sorry, PMP over PMI ACP. But yeah, I would like to know your thoughts as well, Bryan.
Yeah, no, I think it's exactly on point. It's basically saying, hey, they're two different certifications. One's focusing on traditional waterfall, and the other is pure agile. So it depends on the path you're interested in pursuing, but they also pair very nicely together. I have both PMP and a PMI-ACP because they kind of teach you different aspects of that whole delivery framework. So yeah, I think these are great answers.
Right. Amazing. Thanks for vouching these answers as well.
Embedded.
Bryan, yeah, great. So I'm just going to end the poll right here that you know, asks you your interest in the program. So in case you are interested, what you can do is head to the course page and enroll straight away. I mean, the course fee is not much. If you would like to talk to a learning advisor, still have a couple of more seconds while I keep the poll live. Just click on a yes and someone will reach out to you. Okay. So that's it from poll, and also we're also nearly done with the session. This was another amazing session, Bryan. Again, closing thoughts. Do you have anything to share to our learners?
Yeah, probably the biggest thing I would encourage folks to just keep in mind is if you've come to this session, you've already taken a really important first step. And my guidance would be keep up the momentum, take the next step, get enrolled, take that course. This is the gateway to expanding your career. It's going to increase your own fulfillment. You're going to get much more from the work that you're doing. And it's going to demonstrate to prospective employers, your existing employer, that you're willing to invest in yourself. And that's what organizations are looking for. So I would just say, keep your foot on the pedal, keep going, and get that certification.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. Okay, we actually answered this question already, but just, you know, maybe a summary of what someone can do after they've finished their CSM certification. Is there a level 2 is what a learner has to ask? So maybe you can share your thoughts there, and then, you know, we'll wrap up the session.
Oh, yes, there's, well, you know, when you ask, like, is there level 2, level 3? Yes. Different organizations provide those types of levels. The scrum.org provides a professional Scrum Master 1, 2, and 3 levels. That's certainly an option if you really want to get deep into Scrum Master practices. There are other paths available to you too. The Scaled Agile Framework has the Release Train Engineer certification, and that's a role that kind of oversees multiple teams and their Scrum Masters. And then, as mentioned before, you might be interested in taking the product owner route, and there's definitely different levels of certification available in that direction as well. So, I think my guidance would be, I wouldn't boil the ocean here. Start with the foundation. This is an excellent foundation. This is what I describe as a low regret decision. It's relatively inexpensive. It's not a big time commitment. You don't have any prerequisites. And then let that guide you on where you want to make your next step.
Great advice, Brian. Actually, there's one more very interesting question that we have, and then we quickly, or probably I'll do that while we are answering this question. Learners, while I take the next question, quickly give in your names for the webinar certificate. You'll get this by the end of tomorrow. Make sure your names are accurate, just exactly how you'd like to be seen. So we've got this very interesting question on the Q&A box, Brian. So how does a Scrum Master also ensure that they facilitate the team, hold them together, accountable as well, without being their manager? How does one strike that balance?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, one of the answers to that is that you, as a Scrum Master, do not hold anyone accountable to anything. No, in fact, just the opposite. You ask them to hold themselves accountable. And how do we do that? Well, the first thing is in our planning event, we're going to say to the team, what work can you commit to get completed in this sprint? So they're the ones that have the voice in saying that they have the skills, they've got the capacity, that they understand the outcome. And if they make that commitment, all your job then is to highlight to them, say, oh, you know what, you said you were going to do this. I didn't tell you had to do it. You volunteered. You said I got the time, I've got the skills necessary. And you want to create sort of this feeling that like they're the ones making the commitment and they feel guilty. Like, gosh, I signed up for this. I said I could do this. That's what a good Scrum Master does. They don't hold anyone accountable. They make them hold themselves accountable.
Wow, that was an amazing insight. I think that's the insight here. Who asked that question? Let me see. Okay, Roma, I think you asked us this question. I think as a Scrum Master, you yourself are accountable. You're only facilitating the team, I think. You probably do a good job. And that's why, you should definitely take up a training to understand how to handle these situations. And I'm sure the exam also is based around, situational based questions, if I'm not wrong.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yeah, there definitely will be some role playing, more situational style questions. Now they try not to make you read like an entire page of text to answer a question because a lot of people don't always have English as a first language, for example. So they do tend to make questions a little bit more succinctful. But yes, absolutely expect to get a range of questions on not just knowledge of Scrum, but how do you effectively apply Scrum?
Got it. Thanks, Brian, for another insightful session on becoming a Scrum Master, why Scrum Masters are critical. I'm sure the learners gained a lot of insight on what they should do, what their first step should be, how they can grow, and obviously how this role is important, what their career opportunities are, right? So maybe the learners on the chat, just for us to understand what you've learned, maybe you could share what is your biggest takeaway from today's session on the chat. Maybe you could do that. Thanks. Thank you so much for joining in. Brian, it was again great, wonderful hosting you, listening to
Yes.
you as always. Yeah. I will probably meet again very, very soon for
Oh,
another
yes.
session. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, definitely. I'm just waiting for the learners to share what they've learned.
Okay.
Any big takeaways that you have? What's your biggest takeaway? Thanks is their biggest takeaway, right?
And oh, thanks. Yeah, well, that's very thoughtful. I'm glad they got something from
Yes.
it. By the way, for those of you that do have a PMP, this does constitute as a PDU, one of your product development units, so you can get credit for that. And
Wow.
Aparna, thank you so much for your time again today. Looking forward to our next session. Great event today.
Yes, absolutely. I also enjoyed it. Thanks everyone for joining in. It was great hosting. We'll meet once again. So remember, in case you're looking to understand where you'll get your certificate, how, so we've launched a very quick poll. We'll send in your certificates tomorrow with all the names that exist. Yeah, thank you. Bye-bye. Bye, Bryan. Yeah. Right. So learners, I'm just going to wait around for another couple of minutes in case you have trouble identifying where the poll is. Uh, Great. Thanks, Rudrendra, for sharing that takeaway. Let me also check in on the breakout rooms. We've got a couple of learners still talking. So meanwhile, this poll is still live. You can share in your names for the webinar certificate. Meanwhile, the other links that I've shared, I hope you've taken a note, you've bookmarked them. In case you couldn't find them, here you go. First and foremost is the GPT that I shared. Okay, I'm just going to close down the chat for a while. Okay, so you will only be able to send your messages to me. That's your GPT helping you understand literally anything you need in your career, and of course, the CSM study guide. Okay, about 4 or 5 learners still need to submit in their names, and we've got to wrap up this session in the next 5 minutes. So make sure you enter the name. Yeah, Ravi, you received materials you said we shared for the PMP webinar. Okay, Ravi, yes. The poll is already live, Arun. So please check the pop-up. It's already live. And people are entering in the names. Ravi, actually, yes. What happened is Bryan just took some more time to send in his test. So I think we only shared the study plan that we had. So I'm just sharing the link that Bryan just shared with me a while back. You could take a look and practice this thing. Abhishek, you will receive your certificates tomorrow. Remember, what we have right now is a poll. So please enter your name in the poll and you will receive your certificate tomorrow. Okay? Yes. Certificate mail. Okay, guys. So what you also have to do is to ensure that Simplilearn webinars is not on your spam list. You've not unsubscribed. So all these names, I do remember you guys from our previous sessions, but you may have unsubscribed, our email sender. So that's why probably you didn't receive these certificates. So Shastri, you can actually send us an email and then I'll look into it. But otherwise, for this webinar, I've already launched a poll. You should be, if you've already given your name, you don't have to worry. It's already recorded, but ensure that we are on your no spam list. Okay, that's how you will receive our certificate. Ravi, you don't have to do, we don't have to do anything to give you PDUs. All you have to do is to declare that you attended this session and then you got the PDU. So I think the certificate would do the job. So if you've entered your name in the poll that I've launched, you're good to go. Okay, again, we won't be able to take in your names if you put it on the chat. Please make sure you put it on the poll. People saying they didn't receive their certificates, look at what I said. I do remember some of you guys, and I do remember making those certificates myself. It's just that they didn't reach you because we are on your spam list, right? So please mention the session on email. Let me just quickly share my screen and show you the email ID, right? Please mention when you send the email to this ID, webinars@simplilearn.net, please definitely share the session that you attended and you didn't receive. It didn't have the study plan, Ravi Shankar. Okay, this may have been missed again. I'll probably ask the team to send another email to the entire list of learners. Okay, does that work? Yeah. And today, today's webinar, if you've already entered your name, so that's a separate thread again. But remember, if you have attended our previous sessions, not received certificate, please drop an email here. And if you're talking about the PMP webinar, we'll make sure all the resources are shared once again. Okay? Yeah. Okay, cool. I think we're pretty much done here. It was great hosting and bringing this session to you. I'll see you again. Webinars@simplylearn.net is the email ID. If you didn't receive a certificate for a previous session, please do not drop an email now because you've already entered your name in the poll. You've recorded your name. You will receive your certificate tomorrow for this session. So what I was talking is about a previous session that another learner had attended and they didn't receive a resource that were actually shared in the webinar. I've shared that with him directly. We'll share another email, so do not worry, right? Okay, great. Thank you so much for joining in. Have a great day ahead, and I'm really glad that you took out the time to attend this session, learn, and take the next step in your career. Thank you so much once again. Bye-bye. I'll see you in another session.